So one of the interesting things that you mentioned was having data in not the right sources. From my personal experience, I feel like a lot of companies in the financial sector might have more customer data than anybody. If you're a credit card company,
Right.
you know exactly what the customer buys. Just to create an account for a bank, you know where they live. You've got all these extra demographics and details that a company in another sector would only dream of having.
So that's true. I think there's two sides of that. One is the reality that banks do have significant amounts of data from your
Hmm.
spending habits, from your debit cards, or if anybody still writes checks, at least at the transaction level. So the practical challenge is that most banks have core systems where those transactions are held. For example, the credit card that you use at your bank will have a core credit card platform. Your deposit account will be in a different platform. And so
Mm,
anything that you use your debit card for will be in your transactions related to the deposits. Anything you use your credit card for is there. The other reality is most customers use multiple cards from different
sure.
institutions. So there's a practical question of if you have a core deposit system and the credit card system, and you have a customer who's interacting with both frequently, the reality is the need to bring the data together somewhere like a data lake where it's all being fed. The other issue is that if we're trying to see, and we use the term omni-channel, we've used that for years. It basically is the way we've tried to define every place the customer comes in, everything that they do that's within the sphere of our data. So within a bank, we can say, how do we connect all the touch points, everything you do, how you do it, when you do it, why you do it, how you
Hmm.
want to do it with those systems. And so when you think about the practical challenge of bringing those systems together, having core data that connects, being able to see all of the times you're interacting and how you're interacting, how you choose to, and somehow be able to say, okay, using, for example, artificial intelligence or data analytics or machine learning, to say, how do we learn what you want to do? How do we begin to provide to you personalization
Hmm.
in mass? So the key to CX long-term in financial services is connecting all the dots, bringing all the data, somehow being able to connect to outside sources as well, to the extent that it adds relevant data points, and be able to come back with all of that to do a couple of things. One is to personalize your experience. Example, you come in every day to your mobile app and you sign in, you go to your primary checking account, and you look at the balance and you look at the last 10 recent transactions, and then you move on. You do that every day. Well, if I'm sitting there in the digital world and I see that you do that, why wouldn't I just, when you log in, immediately take you to your primary checking account and highlight your last 5 transactions? So that's
Mm.
just an example. So it's personalization. The beauty of it is banks can learn to do that personalized experience for you with what you want to do, but do it at scale. I think that's the real challenge, is how do you connect all those dots at scale? That's where the beauty comes in. That's where the magic happens. And then you can start to build customer journeys that are personalized, that also significantly reduce the effort that you have to make to be able to do the things you want to do. The other aspect of data that becomes a little more of a challenge is being able to use the data to start to predict certain events that may happen that are more likely to cause you to attrite, to leave the bank, or to have some type of an
Mm.
issue, so that we can proactively say, oh, shoot, Dylan just had an overdraft. He never has an overdraft. Let's contact him immediately instead of waiting for him to see it. And let's have a remedy if it's a bank error, or if it's fraud or whatever. We already have a process that we're going to engage you immediately, take care of that. You may not even know, be able to, waive the fee, fix the problem, solve the issue, and roll on. The other reality is in the sales side, you hear a lot of times the next best product. Well, one of the things that starts to come into play are life events. And for example, if you change your address to another city, well, we've already missed the opportunity potentially to talk to you about a mortgage because you're
Hmm.
already, if you're changing your address, it's because you're going somewhere. The question is, what are the triggers ahead of that that might help us to predict that you're likely to move and be able to get in on the ground floor early on? So I think that's the piece that a lot of financial institutions are trying to figure out is how do we predict those life events and get ahead of those and help you with those needs to be able to more effectively get the things done that you need to do without having to spend a lot of effort to get them done.